Welcome to Secrets from the Saddle podcast. I'm Sylvie, your host, fellow cyclist, bike club founder, cycling coach, bike race junkie, just truly super passionate about cycling. My journey with cycling started 20 years ago when I opened a spin studio, started a women's race team, and founded a women's only cycling club called CycleFitness. I'm super thrilled to reveal all aspects that make the world of cycling operate. I'm so excited to be able to bring you interesting people from around the world, pro cyclists, recreational cyclists, coaches, event organizers, bike shop owners, everything and everyone you need to know or ever wondered about when it comes to cycling. I know you'll enjoy this episode. This podcast episode is sponsored by Shopify Queen Sarah Jansel of Jansel Co. Do you currently have a Shopify site selling products or services that aren't performing as well as you're hoping? Or do you have a product or service you'd love to sell, but you have no idea where to start? Well, my girl, Sarah Jansel, the Shopify Queen, is a person to talk to. She is amazing and brilliant at branding and is currently helping me completely revamp my website on Shopify to showcase my new brand and selling my products. So if this sounds like something you've been looking for, please reach out to her on IG at Sarah Jansel, that's Jansel. Leave her the code Sylvie, that's Sylvie, and she will add you to her free Shopify Facebook group, where she coaches weekly on Shopify strategies and has tons of content to help you in your Shopify journey to building your online business. So don't forget, DM her on Instagram at Sarah Jansel, Jansel, and leave her the code Sylvie. She'll reach out and add you to her community. Thank you very much and have an amazing day and enjoy the episode. All right, welcome back to another episode of Secrets from the Saddle, All Things Cycling podcast with your host, Sylvie Daou. And I have the beautiful Sarah, who is a friend of mine, and she's also a fellow Canadian, and she's also sitting in Toronto. Well, not Toronto, Hamilton, London, Ontario. And I met Sarah last year in Fast Foundation's a mastermind group. And we became friends, and her business is so cool. So the reason why I brought her to the podcast is because she is a Shopify guru, or the Shopify queen, I should say. So if there's anyone out there as our listeners who is contemplating starting up a business wrapped around cycling, it doesn't have to be about cycling, but we're going to talk cycling. Sarah is the person you want to talk to set up a Shopify store. So, I've seen lots of jewelry made out of cycling parts like chains and tubes and tires. And also this is, like we were just talking, a little cheaper than Etsy. So here's a little bit of background on Sarah before we bring her out, but that's what we're going to be talking about today, how you can set up your online shopping store. All right. So Sarah Jansel is a fan of all things e-commerce. She is both the owner of Jansel Co. Where they build, brand, and grow awesome Shopify stores. So after starting her own Shopify business, Sarah sought out as much information as she could on how to set one up, run it, and make it profitable. She then took this passion to a new level, and that's how we met in the Fast Foundation Mastermind group, on how to, using her knowledge to help others get their products or store online. And that's why I'm actually working with Sarah to work on my store. So Sarah, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. And I'm really excited about your store, by the way. So
I'm excited about it. I'm like, it's like one of those things, you're finally sick of being on the little, hamster wheel of doing your own things and not asking for help, as anybody else can relate. And then I just like, Sarah, I need your freaking help. So, so I've been talking to Sarah and we're going to be working together. So Sarah, my first question. I know she's a
Mhm.
cyclist, which made me even more excited. How did you get into cycling?
Yeah. So actually, my husband is the one that got me into that way before he was my husband. He was actually a downhill mountain biker.
Oh,
He
no
did
way.
downhill pro. Yeah, he did it for Ontario for a long
No,
time. Loved to race him and his brother. And so then
that
he kind of got me
is
into cross country. Yeah.
that is so cool. So he raced for Ontario.
He did, yeah. So he was pretty
Oh,
excited. I've seen some videos of it because it was a little bit
you're just
before my
like,
time. And it's like, yeah, literally like covering my eyes. I'm like, I don't know how his mom went to any of those like
I
like
know,
races.
they rarely see all the stuff coming down the hill. You just see them at
Mhm.
the end. So how did you guys meet?
Yeah, well, actually, it's like kind of a crazy story. It had nothing to do with
Okay.
cycling. Yeah, we actually his one of his best friends married one of my best friends, and he was at the wedding, and so we
Oh.
actually connected there, which is so random. And then, he quickly got me on the mountain bike train.
I
hmm
guess so. It's like one of those things. She's got to be a cyclist. So how often
Yes.
do you get on the bike now?
Yeah, I mean, all the time in my neighborhood. I don't get out as much now. Like we were going to Horseshoe Valley and like a bunch of different
Okay.
places around just so you can get like some good runs, some good train. When we moved out to BC, my husband was definitely out all the time. It was a little scary for me. I'm like, you think about Ontario and like, are going to put quotations around mountains, and then you go out to a real one, and it's like, yeah, I'm already sweating thinking about it. But
Yeah, you're like, where are the beginner courses,
yes.
trails for me? Because I'm like, I am not following that guy.
No, no, no. But we've got a few good places around here to go. They're a little bit longer, so it's a little bit
Hmm.
nicer. It's more about the view, than anything else. But yeah, it's good to get out.
Stop! I want to take a picture here.
Yes, yes,
So, oh my God, so that's awesome. And Sarah also won one of the prizes. Do you have it close
yes.
by? Is it close by
It's
or is
it's
like
in another room. I'd have to
in
go
another
grab
room?
it. But
So
yeah,
she
yeah.
won
I
one
should
of
have wore
the
it.
you should have. We could have worn our own. So she won one of the cycling caps from AfriCap, which
Mhm.
is one of the podcast episodes we did from a gentleman who started a cycling apparel company in Africa. And maybe you should talk to him.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I did check out their store. So I
Hmm.
had to. I had to.
Yeah, well, of course. And so let's just dive into Shopify and your story on how you got started there with your own business and then now how you've made it a business, because
Mhm.
this is a good part of this whole podcast episode for our listeners, is that how do you get your own products online? So
Mhm.
go to town, Sarah.
Yeah. So, I mean, most people when they meet me, they're kind of like, "You did what before?" So, I I had a 20-year corporate career. I did everything from business operations. My last job was the head of like people and HR for a tech company. That tech side of things actually gave me some confidence to start doing my own
Mm,
online thing, even though I wasn't doing the tech at the time. But I always had a dream to actually have an apparel business. So I wanted to do something in fashion. I was so intrigued by what you were telling me earlier about like different bike parts going into like jewelry and things like that. Like
oh
people are so
yeah.
innovative.
How do you
um,
reuse and recycle? That's the whole thing going
yeah.
forward these days. Like,
Yeah.
I just, sidebar, I just getting into the whole recycling of furniture. Like,
hmm
that's huge. And it's so cool to see
Yeah.
creativity there. It's just unreal taking some old, vanity that you never use and change it into like two pieces or one beautiful piece that, anybody would
Yeah.
want. So,
Totally.
but yeah,
Yeah,
very
I feel like
cool.
that plays a huge role this year, actually, like
Hmm.
sustainable things, and yeah.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I was like, hey, I kind of had like my own opinion after I've done a bunch of traveling, and was like, I want to bring the California vibes to Canada. So I started a boho kind of fashion boutique. It was really fun at the time. I was like, it's not necessarily that I was going to quit my corporate job. I just was really lacking like some of the creativity that I was like needed in my life. So I started that, and very quickly it turned into a business, was out doing like women's events and speaking and like
Mm.
pop-up shops and selling a bunch of stuff online and it, going to shows. And like, I was like, wow, like this is like a really fun part of my life. And in 2020, I was like, hey, like, maybe I'm going to start to scale this a little bit differently. And I hired a coach actually who was originally from Fast Foundations, and which is where we met. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met with her to talk about how to scale that thing. And the day we were supposed to meet in person actually was the day everything had shut down. So we had to kind of delay it, yeah, for a few weeks. And that actually did some good because she started getting all these clients that were kind of, I don't want to say panicked, but like, man, I really need to get my stuff online. Like, how am I going to get my stuff online? And I've been doing this for a couple of years at that point. And so when I had my session with her to talk about the fashion business, she was like, Sarah, I have like 3 clients right now who need your expertise. Like, you know how to get this online, you know how to build it, you know how to do all these things. You've got a coaching background in HR. She's like, would you be willing to try this? I'm like, well, this isn't what I hired you for, but yeah, definitely I'd be willing to try this. And it actually turned out to be the most awesome thing because I, took on a few clients and very quickly I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, like this is what I was missing was like, yes, there's the creativity aspect, but this ability to like get in and show people how to do, I'm going to say kind of the same thing, but really cater it around like what it is they're doing and how to make that look
Right.
special and be really cool online. And I was like, all right. So within like a couple of months, I continue to work with her. She's amazing, by the way. And I quit my corporate job like 20 years. I was like, you know what, this is during the pandemic. Like I know a lot of people were, leaving jobs or losing jobs, but I was like, no, like there's never been a better time to jump into something where people need to get online. So I totally took a risk and was like, I'm young. If this doesn't work out, I can go get a job.
Oh yeah,
But
seriously.
it turned into a business really quickly. And, a year later, I sort of rebranded into Jansel Co because we brought in some team members that are helping with some of the work. But yeah, we love helping people with their Shopify stores. It's like my GM.
Yeah, because you started out, you had sort of not like a mastermind, but you had a program for what I remember.
Yes.
Is that kind of on the side and you're totally taking clients like
Yeah.
like
So
me?
yeah, yeah. So I started out with, I was like, okay, I'm going to coach and show people how to do this. So
Hmm.
I still have it. It's a 6-week coaching program. I have somebody that's in there right now. But I'm not actively advertising that because
Right.
what I learned throughout the year, it's kind of funny. It was like to the public eye, it was like, here's Sarah, the coach that's showing people how to do this. Cause my model was always about like, how do I empower people? Cause the number one thing I hear from business owners is like, especially when you're starting out, like you kind of are wearing a lot of hats. So it's like, how
Mm.
do I know how to run this business or know enough to be dangerous, even if I do bring someone on? So I was teaching people how to do this, and it was successful. But I started to get this vibe, like, as people are picking up and they've got a lot of things going on in their lives and a lot of clients, this isn't their only business. Like I have a
Mm.
lot of, like you, Sylvie, right? Like a lot of service folks who want to add a product. And so it was like, they didn't have time. They didn't have the 6 weeks that they wanted to spend to learn how to do this. They're like, can you just do this for me? So I was kind of like, quote unquote closet doing it for people behind the scenes. I just didn't advertise it. And
Uh-huh.
last summer when we were in Fast Foundations together, the mastermind, it kind of hit me. I took a couple weeks off and I was like, you know what? Like, I think there's something to this. We're going to rebrand this company. We're going to call it Jansel Co. I'm going to bring some people on to help me. And this is going to be like, this is it. Like, we're going to do done for you services. It doesn't mean that we're not going to coach people because we do VIP days. And in fact, I spend
Yeah.
a lot of my time actually doing the business end coaching with clients. So it's like, how do we carve this out? What's the vision? Helping them pull it together. But I don't need to do necessarily all the work. I do some of it.
Mhm.
But I feel like that's kind of how it got born. It was out of like a client need, really. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So going back to now your clients, so you do a lot of one-on-ones.
Hmm.
And I guess you found that and I know like being part of groups, like group
Yeah.
teaching is always like, I'm not really getting what I need out of this. And for a lot of us, I would imagine just want to learn. Like,
Mhm.
not that we want it done, but we want it done, but we also want to learn it at the same time. Because there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than having everything done. They're like, oh, well,
Like, how do I use this?
how do I use this? Or how do I make changes? And then you're back to asking you. You're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like a fatal flaw I actually hear from a lot of
Mm.
clients who get their store and it's like totally unusable because of how it was built. Like, wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily built for what they were doing, or they were never shown. And I get the phone call. It's like, "Hey, like, do you do this?" And so with all of the services we do, even if we did everything for you, we set up your email system, we set up your store, all that stuff, there's always a training component at the end. So
Hmm.
and like we're talking 45 minutes. Like we'll show you how to use that store. We'll give you your tip sheet. Like you'll know exactly what you need to do. And then if you have more complex stuff that you want done, or you're, recreating the wheel again, then give us a call. But we don't want to be the business where it's like we get these panic calls at midnight, because I'm like, I feel so bad. Like what the person on the other end is going through is like, not a great space. And so we're a little bit different in that mindset, where there is this like business coaching component and training around what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for our listeners now, if you're someone who's listening, so Sarah, what would be like the first steps that somebody with an idea would come to you? I guess they would have to have more than a no, I guess an idea. How early in the inception of a I guess an idea do you take people, or do you expect them to have kind of something in place, or do you
Yeah,
take them at different levels, or how do you
we do. Yeah, it's
yeah.
kind of like there's different business models that you can run on
Mhm.
Shopify. So with the different business models, there can be different degrees of like how far ahead somebody is. I mean, one of the things that we recommend if you're totally just starting out is just kind of, if you have a product idea in mind, it's just like having done a little bit of thinking around like understanding who the ideal client would be for that product. Usually
Mhm.
we know, because we're typically like 99.9% of the time, we're a former version of that client. So it's usually us. There's usually
Right.
a need. You can usually identify it, but just a little thinking around that, like who that person is, are they on Facebook or Insta? What do they like? Like that'll help pour into what we do around the store and how that shows up and what we say. Figuring out what your product idea is. I'm going to tap into that a little bit in a minute, because there's
Mhm.
different ways to approach that. And then really just getting some branding done. And we can also help with that, because we have a full branding specialist on the team who does graphic design, logos, all the stuff. So, you can kind of come to us at that early stage. And in fact, like our ideal clients typically startup or small to medium sized biz,
Mhm.
who's either just product based or service adding product. And so, around the product, some clients are out there and they've invested in making something. So we get a lot of folks with like fitness equipment or
Mhm.
supplies. Like, if you're talking about cycling, maybe there's something really special that you have. I know my husband has all these like all in one tools that he brings, whenever he rides, and like just things like
Yeah.
that, right? Cycling caps, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
From that apparel designer. So if you have something that you want, then definitely we can build you the platform to sell that.
Mhm.
But some clients are like, hey, I just actually really want to do this super cool logo that I have. Or like, my business is really popular and I put a logo or a design on like a shirt I was wearing while I was cycling, and people seem to want to buy this. Like, how do I do that? So we can help people actually source that out. So there's something called print on demand. We've talked about this, Sylvie,
Oh, yeah,
before.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you want to design some sort of custom clothing, yoga clothes, athleisure, phone cases, accessories, home items, like
Wow.
maybe there's a speaker you want to put on your bike, while you're going so that you're listening to good tunes, whatever it is, we can source that out. And that service from a print on demand company is actually free. So we hook it up to your store. It's fully integrated, meaning it's
So
basically your store.
is it just clothing?
It's clothing, it's home apparel, it's journals, it's stickers. It's like there's like a laundry
No
list of things.
way.
Yeah, and you literally choose the items, and like high quality stuff. Like we're talking about a t-shirt. You may have heard about Bella and Canvas and other like
Mhm.
designs like that, which are actually high quality like tees and stuff. So it's not crap. But it's stuff that you can actually go to, and basically you put your design on it and you hook it up to the store. and then you have a full store, and it's like the models are included, like all the stuff. So you get all these pictures. It looks like you've done all the work, and people can purchase stuff from your store. And like, you're not out any money at this point, other than what it took to kind of build the store or the brand. And when someone pays you for that product, you literally push a button on the back end and it sends it to the print on demand company, where they literally print it on demand, pack it, ship it, fulfill it, send it out. You've had no inventory, no nothing.
Whoa,
You
it's like
pay them.
a mini,
You're
like
like a
an
middleman.
Amazon. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. So, and then
Whoa.
you collect the money on the back end. You don't have to deal with returns. Like, it's like all that stuff. So that's a great way actually to get out and kind of test the market on some things like that. But it's definitely an
Okay.
alternative to drop shipping, where you definitely know what you're getting, and there's more service to that. So
Oh, that is super cool, because
yeah.
I just had this thought, because in my cycling club, a lot of ladies are like, well, well, cycling apparel, I imagine, is different because that's kind of specific, like cycling shorts and things like
Yeah.
that. But there's the other things like caps, like arm warmers, or a post ride tees, or something that has your logo on it. I like the
Mm-hmm.
stickers too. Um, that would be super cool,
Mm-hmm. It
having
is.
that
Yeah.
little like merch store for your club members to purchase anytime.
Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, we've got a lot of clients that are on that actually, and like combination. So an example would be a gal I'm working with. She's got a fitness brand. So she actually does like fitness coaching like during the day. So she does that.
Mhm.
And she was like, these bands and sliders that they use for the workout, she's like, they fall apart. Like, they're not very good. So she actually had some designed. And so we built a store for her. So she sunk the money into product development. But then she was like, yeah, but then I started wearing, she's actually has her dogs in her gym and stuff all the time. They're like a big
Ah, oh,
staple.
the dog.
So the dogs, so she's got like barbells, like all these shirts with dogs, and like, her brand is all kind of mom dog themed, fitness mom dog. So she started wearing these like sweatshirts when she was working out, and people were like, oh my God, where do I buy that? So she put her logo on it. We did a print on demand, and people are buying these things. So it's like she had no money out on that. She's selling the bands and sliders too, but it's like, just as your business kind of evolves, like things will happen like that. And it's just nice to know that there's this option.
Okay, Sarah. So can I design a t-shirt, order it, wear it, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Yep.
like see if there's interest in like
100%. Yeah.
ah, mm,
100%. And in fact, when you have one of these stores, I'm always like, order samples. And the nice thing is
yes.
about the store owner, I think on your first purchase, as long as you do it within like the first week or something like that, you get it for like 30% off of the cost. So not even the retail
Mhm.
price, because you're deciding what the retail price is. But like,
Right.
so this can be a very inexpensive way for you to get a bunch of things, test them. Maybe if you have a retail location, buy a few samples and put them in there, see if there's, a need for this. Yeah, lots of different things that you can do to test the market that
Holy
way.
moly. I don't know about you guys, but I wonder if your mind's going as fast as mine. Okay, just a second. I had a question. What's the percentage that goes to the print on demand?
Hmm.
Because
So
obviously
it's,
it's like you got to pay for this,
yeah.
pay for the
So
product,
basically,
the shipping, and everything. Yeah.
yeah, it's basically just the cost of the product. So, like,
Mm.
a good high quality t-shirt might be $11 American. You sell it for 40 or 45. Shipping, unless you decide it's free, it gets passed on to the consumer. So,
Mhm.
like, this is actually a lucrative business if it's done right. If it's done right. And that's a good question, because a lot of people don't actually ask that. Because I'm like, yeah, no, literally, you can hook this print up demand
Yeah,
thing to
I'm
your
like,
store.
just a
It's
second,
free
like,
to design. It's free to have, they have all the images with different models, males, females, like all this stuff, right? You can choose how you want that to look, but then it's really just that. So, like, your money really goes into some of the marketing, right? For
yeah,
this.
yeah, because I'm
Hmm.
just like, just a second. There's got to be, well, you got to pay for some of this stuff, obviously. So,
It's just the cost of the
where does
product.
that work? So
Yeah.
you can go in and say, or can, so if I'm looking at t-shirts,
Hmm.
say like sleeveless
Hmm.
t-shirts, is there like, say, a variety that I
Yep.
can pick from? Because I like certain cuts.
Hmm.
of t-shirts, like the really nice like high neck
Yep,
kind of, yeah. And
definitely.
they have like a variety to pick from.
Yeah, definitely. And there are different print on demand companies. So, like, there's one in particular that I really like to use because their customer service is really good. And
Okay.
for those that aren't like in ecom speak, I'm going to use an ecom buzzword, which is like pack-ins. So, they'll actually say you wanted to include things like stickers or a
Oh,
postcard
like
that was
add like
like,
little
yeah, like
surprises kind of
share it
thing.
on Insta, right? So that you're getting
Mm-hmm.
that like free, user generated marketing and things like that. Like they'll actually do that. And a lot of these companies don't. Like they're really seamless. You can get a hold of people. So like there's things I look for in a company where it's like, can I speak to a
Totally.
human? Am
Yeah,
I going to get my
yeah.
problem fixed? So they've got a huge selection of stuff. But there are other print on demand companies that do things like if say somebody wanted to do like 100% organic cotton, like there are companies that will just do that and things like that. So you
But
can get really specific.
do they outsource it through that company? Like if that print on demand, like they'll, if you
So
want
they're like they
100%
do it
like,
all. Like they do it all
right.
in house.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing to note about that too is a lot of these companies have, so it is kind of like the Amazon model in the sense that they have these like warehouses or, manufacturing places like all over the country. And so what they are smart enough to know is like, okay, so you're in Toronto, that might be closest to like our New York printing office. That's the one that's going to print it and send it out. So you're not waiting for like 2 months like
Right.
traditional or a month like traditional drop shipping company. It's like the item gets printed
Yeah,
and in
just
like
like
a week or two you get it. Yeah.
like I think I forgot about what I ordered, or like, wow, look
Yes,
at
it
that.
shows
Just
up
showed
one
up.
day. None of
Yeah.
that.
I've had a
Experience.
couple of those. Didn't
Mm-hmm.
I? Was it, how long ago was that? Like 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
not going to send it back, right? It's just one of those
Yeah.
things.
100%. 100%.
Wow. Okay, guys. I don't know if your
Yeah.
mind's being blown, but my mind is. Because one of the things that I have on my list of businesses was to have not a retail store, but yeah, a retail store. Because when you think about things like I would like to be selling, you're just like the whole concept or thought is like completely daunting. Like, oh my God, do I have to have inventory? Like, do I have to have a
Mhm.
retail space? Like, how does it get shipped and how do people buy? Like, so a lot of these things are just going through my head. And I imagine, like, for some of you who are thinking about doing something like this, like, oh my God, I have to be putting out all this money. But like what Sarah's saying, buy your own samples, check it out. You're going to have to do some of that anyways, so people
Yeah.
can see you wearing your stuff. And of course, you're going to want to test it out because you're selling it. If you don't like it, maybe this material isn't what you want to have on your body, then you're not going to want to sell it. But
Definitely.
ooh, that is super cool. Okay, so let's talk about some other aspects of, so that's Shopify and then print on demand sold by
Hmm.
through Shopify. So let's talk about the artist
Yeah.
who's refurbishing, recycling, cycling products for art and jewelry. And I've seen purses made out of like
Mm.
um bike parts, not bike parts, but like tubes and tires. Yeah, I see a lot of cool things come out of recycled products. So how would that person want to move from something, say like Etsy, to
Hmm.
working with you at Shopify?
Yeah, so some of these answers will be applicable to all the businesses, which is kind of
Hmm.
nice. But, I find some folks will start on Etsy. Like, Etsy's great. Obviously, you're tapping into a specific demographic or market with
Hmm.
your products there, but it's quite expensive. It's quite manual. I know the shipping's not super great either. I know shipping's kind of a pain point anyway for small business, but
Yeah.
the difference between something like that and all the fees that you pay that are associated with that is on Shopify, it's like you're paying, one monthly fee literally most clients just need the basic $29 a month. And with that, you get, all this stuff that you don't get on an Etsy, like, your customer relationship management tool is in there. There's email in there. There is, all of these different sales channels that you can add. And a sales channel would be things like there are direct connections, and no other platform has this, by the way, whether it's Square or Wix or anything like that, where you can log into and create a shop. And you've seen this on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok. You can create ads from that. And literally, when you add a product to your store, there's all these like additional inventory management tools. So you've got your products in there, but it's not like a WordPress or something. People are probably cringing when I say this, where when you add your product, you select where you want the product to show up. So, it's not like you have to add the product in the back end to manage inventory and then add it in the front end. It's just there. So it could be like, hey, I want to sell this in my store, on Instagram, on Facebook, put this in my Pinterest shop, and it immediately just shows up there. So you tap into, so like on Etsy, people think about it like, well, I'm tapping into a market of clients. Absolutely. Maybe you want to do Etsy and Shopify, nothing wrong with that. But with Shopify, you're going to be able to tap into all these additional things, create an Amazon store if you had that. Like, there's all these different opportunities where people can just take something they sell and start selling it on multiple platforms. Yeah.
Excuse me while I fall off my chair. Yeah. So because I was just actually currently looking at Instagram Shop and connecting some links, like just to my clinics, right? Because, people can, I can use that link for people to shop on there. I didn't fully get into it because I was just like, okay, obviously you always need to allot some time to do these things from start to finish. It's kind of hard to do them halfway through and then come back and go, where was I? But that is really interesting. Cool.
Yeah. And even things like, digital downloads, like sometimes people just, want to sell, maybe it's their fitness routine for biking, or it's an add-on or things like that. Like you can buy a digital product. Again, there's not a lot of cost associated with something like that. Maybe you've got the apparel store because, you do something, but you want to teach about it too. Like you can add a course, like Thinkific is another integration, or there's other ways to do that as well. But it's one of the platforms that's out there where I always say this to clients, it's like my number one thing to say, if you can dream it, we can build it for you. It's just, it's a matter of coming up with the idea that you believe will sell.
Right. Oh my God. So can you put up stuff that's free, like free downloads?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can add some free stuff because we're always offering free, free extra services or like just downloads and documents and things like that. And that's cool. Okay, what else? What else should we know? I think I've run out of questions, but
I think one of the other things to think about is like when you get into some sort of product-based business like this, and this is how I felt when I started mine. I just thought like, oh, I'll be an online store. Like it's just going to all be online. But you don't always anticipate that suddenly someone's like, hey, do you want to be on a podcast? Hey, I've got this event that I think would be kind of your target market. Do you want to come out and like set up a shop? I've got this convention or like whatever, right? So there's all these things that happen because you're in business. And I'm like, I know when I got into business, I was like, I want to sell these products. Like I'm passionate about this. I'm just going to say yes. So the nice thing about Shopify, and I want to hold up my phone, but I know the listeners can't see the phone, is everything can literally be done from your device. So if you have a retail store or you go to a convention or, you're doing something in person, you can literally get the little tap thing so people can come out, you check them out on your phone or an iPad or whatever. So Shopify is fully mobile and sell stuff in person. Maybe you have your samples up and people are ordering those shirts from your store kind of thing. So there's lots of ways that it can work for your business that I think, again, is like something that's like really specific to that particular platform. So it's easy just to bring it around with you and tap and have people pay for your products and away it goes. The shipping's fully integrated. So you print a label, stick it, and away it goes. Like they've really thought of everything. Yeah. And it continues to just get better and better and better, especially from a design standpoint, which I feel like maybe 4 years ago, they were like okay at that. But now it's like the world's kind of your oyster. Like the design is totally there. It's totally comparable to any other, platform that you want to be on.
Yeah. So when I reached out to Sarah, she had a free webinar. She's talking about her product. Well, you just talk about her products, like what she does.
Hmm.
And before that, I was looking because I sell courses, I sell clinics, and I have some online things that we're going to talk about that we're going to put online. But I was looking at this one website for clinics. And I was just like, oh my God, that setup's so cool. It looks really good and clean. And then I'm like, oof, who's running it? So I scrolled down. It's like Shopify. I was like, what? And so that's why I was like, Sarah,
Yeah.
I want my website. So can a Shopify platform replace your website?
Yes, in most cases, it absolutely can. The
Mm,
e-commerce piece is kind of the side benefit, right? Because it's got a fully
right.
integrated payment system, it's got
Yeah,
shipping,
yeah,
it's got all this stuff. And I would actually
yeah,
say strongly consider that when you start, because, if you're like most people, and that was kind of my story, it's like you get into one thing
yeah.
and suddenly your
Yeah.
business evolves and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to change platforms, or oh, now I need to like hook this in. And then you end up like with 20 different things that don't speak to each other. It's a real
Yeah.
pain. Whereas, yeah, this could totally be a website. Design it as your website, design your pages, have your great landing page, collect emails, and then over time, if you start to sell things or add downloads or like all that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
it's possible to do all of those things. So I would say definitely this is something for a lot of different businesses. And we have some businesses that don't yet sell, but do like training or do
Right.
courses or, do other things. And, it's just getting to be more and more of a stronger platform, especially with the social integration piece, which is huge, as we know, because
Yeah.
most businesses are advertising their websites, their products, all the things on social media. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a nice add on too.
And it's also nice to have one spot, one link, because like I have
Hmm.
a couple different links, and I can imagine it only gets confusing after a while when people are like
Yeah.
following you and they're like, oh, new link. Oh, oh,
Yeah. And
like,
it's
and
costly. Yeah.
yeah. And another reason why I reached out to Sarah, and I don't know if any of my listeners are, or the listeners are in this boat, if they have their own business already, is that I was just paying for so many, I'm paying for multiple different subscriptions, if you know
Hmm.
what I mean, like Zephyr and, Keep and this and that. And that's why I was like, Sarah, like, is there a way to like drop the cost, the operating costs of, running a business and just, dialing it into one place? Because I just got a new website created and I'm just like, I really don't, I'm not loving it. I'm like, ugh. And
Yeah.
and I needed a change. I needed a change quickly. And so it was kind of, I just did it. So so all my stuff is on one page, but I'm just not loving it.
Hmm.
And so when I saw this other page for these courses, I'm like, that is so nice. And that's why I'm excited about working with Sarah, to just get everything integrated into one, putting this podcast in there too. Um, and so if you're sitting in the same spot as I am, this might be worth a reach out to Sarah to, talk to her about how she can, simplify, if I can say anything, and save you money is the other thing, to put it all in one spot. Because at this point, I just like to start over. Like
Hmm.
you've created so
Yeah.
many things and you got so many things going on, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm totally overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's pretty typical. Like I feel like I felt the same way. And it is because it's like we said, right? You get into business and suddenly your business has like all these tentacles and you're like, this is a lot to manage, and then you hire someone to manage it. It's like, is that the most effective way? It might be,
Yeah.
right? It might be, but then like how could you start to streamline? I'm a big fan of like less is more. Is it
Well,
like complicated enough, right?
right. And that's another thing. Like, I've always struggled to find somebody to help me manage what I was doing and everything I've been doing. And it's really hard to find that person because it's, I think it just starts like the platform that you're using, because obviously you want to have everything in one spot. But then if you're using all these other subscriptions to get it done, and it just then starts getting really messy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as an entrepreneur, I I feel that maybe a lot of us are in that spot. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
just looking for the next best thing, some of us. Then you have to change everything, and then you're like, yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel when I saw Sarah's presentation, and I reached out to her, and I just like, I loved what she was saying, and it totally applied to me because I just had so many things going on, and I just was loving to save time to simplify it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's saving time, right? It's like,
Yeah.
because people like, maybe I'll just talk about myself, have all these things going on, like emails going out from there, correspondence, like landing pages, reach. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't even
Mm-hmm.
manage my own business. It's just like overwhelming. And then
Mm-hmm.
nothing gets done.
Yeah, it's true because there's so many like one trick pony solutions, right? I think is the thing. And like there's really good solutions out there, but it's like they're really good at just that one thing. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to expand from there. So then you're like, okay, how do I hook that into this and that into that?
Yeah.
Like it gets crazy.
I think for a lot of us, finding someone like yourself that works from the ground level and pulling everything in is kind of better than like having a business coach that doesn't know the bottom part. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like
I
I
do.
just feeling like that, because I've talked to a lot of people, like they're like, "Oh yeah, you should do this," but you're like, at the end of the day, how do you put it all together? And
Mm-hmm.
that's where your expertise is. Because I'm, when we met, I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I did this and I'd like that. And you're like, yeah, okay, I think I could roll it all in and help you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, and I forgot about that. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so,
And it's like, how do you make it simple for the user, right? Like we'll
oh
just pull
God,
it.
yeah, there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget everybody
Right. The
else.
you being the user, but also your customer too, right? So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Watch out,
Yeah.
everybody. It's going to become simple. But so, is there anything else that you can share? Like, I think I've put all my problems on on the
Yeah,
table.
yeah. But this is so good though, because like these are the most common things we hear, like when people get into business. So I think
Mhm.
it's probably like hitting like the mark with probably a lot of people out here that are feeling some of those exact pain points, like the same things we hear all the time. And, it's just kind of like our current reality.
Mm.
But I would say, we do a lot of these done for you services and things like that. So the store setup, if you have a store and you don't love it, because you touched on that, it's like, no, we want you to be
Mhm.
obsessed with that store. Like
Yeah.
we can help you redesign that, email marketing. But then, for the person that's like, well, like what happens after that? Like, what if I still need you? Because those people are out there. We have a membership for that. So it's like, we won't leave you hanging. It's like we have 2 calls a month, come on. And you were talking about the group dynamic, but it's like, we can literally troubleshoot your store, like in that group on the spot, and answer the questions and all those things. So it's like, we won't leave you out there in the abyss of Googling and YouTube, which by the way is how I started. And I would not recommend that. It's
Yes, you
very
got lots of
painful.
time.
Yes. So, we do support that as well for people who are like, well, I also kind of feel like I'm going to need this additional stuff. It's like, we'll teach you how to fish. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. So
Oh, you teach me how
yeah,
to fish.
we will.
I can support myself for a lifetime on all this fish I'm gonna
Yeah.
get. Oh, I love it. And so I hope you guys are loving what you're hearing. If you have that idea that's still sitting in the back of your head and you're wondering how to get it out there, Sarah is the girl to talk to. Because, like I said, I think going straight to the technology of how it's going to all happen is way better than hiring somebody to kind of put your ideas together, because once that happens, you still need to find someone like her, and she can do the both of them.
Hmm.
And in my
Yeah.
opinion, and I feel that from her, And I'm super glad that we met. I mean,
Same.
there's reasons why we go to these masterminds and spend lots of money, because then we
Yeah.
find people like Sarah. And so with that, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Insta usually. I'm at Sarah Jansel. That's Jansel, or Jansel Co is the business. So we're sharing different stuff on those platforms, but it's all e-commerce based stuff. So that's usually the best place to find me. And I think I may have shared a link to a freebie for those that are just starting out and are like, well, how do I start? So if I didn't, I'll make sure you get that. But it's just like 3 simple steps. It's an easy read. We give you a few questions to answer, and that will send you very far on your way to, honing in on the business. So,
yeah. Perfect. So I hope everybody is excited about this. And if you have your idea, I would love to hear it. So you can put them in the comments on YouTube, or I guess you can place them in the reviews on Apple. And then we can get to them and we can share, or even better, just go to Instagram and follow the podcast and put them there, because I'll definitely get there before I will to the other places. And we can maybe help each other out and bounce ideas, because there's nothing better than, bouncing an idea off of another entrepreneur that's, doing it right, doing it wrong, moving forward. Because if you can save wasting time, like Sarah said, spending time Google, you're not saving money.
no.
I think maybe both of us have spent lots of money on other things like personal development and coaches. And sometimes that's really good and we need that, but at the end of the day, it's finding the right professional to get your stuff out there. So with that, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode, got a lot of good tips, and a good place to go find Sarah and maybe hit her up with some questions. So with that, thanks a lot, Sarah. Super awesome. I can't wait to sit and work with you tomorrow, getting my platform all better.
Yes, we're gonna do more better.
We're gonna do more better.
Sure.
We're gonna make me love my website, because I do not love it at all.
Yeah.
So, but thanks a lot, Sarah, and thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, wasn't Sarah amazing? And I hope that maybe she spurred a couple of you to move forward with your passion projects. I know that it can be super daunting being in the entrepreneur space for so long and not seeing, kind of maybe the results that I've been hoping for, but we all can start a new day fresh. And I think that, I really feel that working with Sarah for me is going to be that place that's going to really launch me into the stratosphere of where I want to go with my business, because I really love working with her. She's so genuine, and I think that it just makes a difference when you're working with somebody, because there's so many people out there who are coaches, life coaches, marketing coaches, and they just can't put the full picture together because they're too busy trying to get you to sell your stuff. And really, you need the bottom platform to do everything on. If you don't have that, then it's so hard to sell and support your clients. So I hope that this gave you a little bit of a baseline as to what to do to get started. And I hope you have an amazing day.